Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Bonjour, proverbet, guten tag, ciao, and hola to my foreign friends. Today we are going to be talking about the equal end jackknife. And so jackknives are defined as knives that have two or more blades at one end. And as you can see, this is equal end. And when we say equal end, it's equally round at both ends. So that's important to remember. And one of my subscribers suggested when I talk about these things that I make sure you understand. I'm talking about NKCA knife designations. So the National Knife Collectors Association quantified and named different patterns so that collectors like me and you could buy, sell, trade, and identify knives. So those designations are just so we can um, apply the trades of our hobby. And originally, this would have just been called a jackknife. That's it. And so in the background, I've got a Mark II Camillus biting knife. Probably dates to the 50s, I would think. I haven't really tried to date it, but that's what I think it dates to. In here, I've got a little piece of resin that has the sands of Iwo Jima on it. This is sacred to Marines. Um, I don't think a lot of people realize that Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest battles in history. 70,000 Marines stormed an island that was roughly 4 miles by 8 miles long, not very big. The opposing force was 21,000 Japanese. It was so bloody that in the end, the Marines only took about 200 prisoners. Almost every single Japanese fought and gave their lives for their homeland. Iwo Jima was an island in a volcanic change of Japan. 4,000 Marines lost their life and 25,000 servicemen were wounded. And in comparison, D-Day had around 4,000 American servicemen killed. So in contrast, it was a much bloodier battle than D-Day. Certainly, there were only 11 ships involved in Iwo Jima, and they thought it would only take 4 days to take the island. But at the end of 4 weeks, they claimed victory. However, major battles were fought up to the next 2 weeks before they ended. And it wasn't until 1949 till all the Japanese had surrendered. That's kind of incredible. So these last few remaining Japanese holdouts hid on the island for 4 years after the war before they finally surrendered. Such was the dedication and ferociousness of the Japanese soldier. But let's get on to what we're talking about here. And so, if you look at this knife right here, it is a two-bladed equal end jack. It's about 3 and 5/8 inch long. And if you look at this cattle knife, it's a E.C. Simmons cattle knife. The cattle knife has 3 blades. It's equal end. It's really built on the same frame, but it's not considered the same. So this is an equal end cattle knife, and they did make serpentine cattle knives. So, it'd be proper to say this is an equal end cattle knife, but it's not an equal end jack. So an equal end jack had their blades attached at one end. This knife here is a Ulster, I think, a Boy Scout knife, 4 blades, utility scout knife. Again, it's an equal end, but it's not an equal end jack. So equal end jack only applies to jackknives, and it doesn't have to be this big. This is a Utica, and you can see there's two blades there, and it is a little smaller than this, but this is an equal end jack. And if we look at this knife right here, I think this is a Wick knife, and they're about the same size. And this is a equal end jack, two blades at one end. If you look at this Boker, it's an equal end two-bladed jack. It could have three blades and still be an equal end jack as long as they're on one side. Once you put a blade on the other side, then it's starting to become a multi-blade. So if you look at this Schrade here, beautiful Schrade knife, by the way, Schrade Walden. They're the same size, but it has three blades. Okay, so this is a small cattle knife. It's not an equal end jack. Small cattle knife, equal end jack. So that's what you're looking for. A lot of the equal ends you see are going to look like this, and this is a pen knife. And so one of the differences is look how thin this knife is compared to this knife. Also, these jacks are heavy. Even the small ones are heavy, and this is much lighter. And even though this is slightly larger than the bottom knife, it's still a pen knife, and there's a blade at either end. You can see that. So it's an equal end pen knife, but it's not an equal end jack. Here it gets a little more difficult to tell. If you look at this knife, this is a Schrade cutlery knife. You got two blades there. It's a two-blade equal end jack. And if you look at the size, though, it's quite a bit smaller than this one right here. And let me just flash over to here. And you can see it's actually smaller than the pen knife. So some of y'all would call this a pen knife. Again, this knife is twice as heavy as this knife right here, and it's much wider. I don't really think that's a pen knife. I wouldn't call it a pen knife. If you want to call it a pen knife, great. That's up to you, but I don't really think it qualifies. Here's a Cutmaster that's two-bladed equal end, and you can see it's the same size. Notice here that they're tip bolsters, but they're equal tip bolsters, and so it would be an equal end two-bladed jack. Yeah, unless you wanted to call that a pen knife. This knife right here looks like a equal end jack. It's two blades. It's a Boker. You can tell by the missing shield. But these are not really equal ends. If you look close, this end is smaller. This is more like an Anglo-Saxon design or a cigar. Not really a equal end jack. This end is smaller. And if you look at this knife, the ends are equal on this knife, but they're not equally round. And so this is considered a opposite end jackknife. The Canoe is a opposite end jackknife. There's a blade here. There's a blade here. This is a little Remington. This knife right here is a elephant's toenail. It is equal end, but again, you have blades on opposite ends, so this is not considered a equal end jack. It's an opposite end jack. You have blades, if I could do this without cutting me, you have blades at opposite ends. And so we would call this an equal end opposite end jack, with opposite end being the primary designation of the knife and equal end a secondary designation. Same with this knife. You would think this was an equal end jack. It's pretty big. It's actually larger than the knife on the left, which is 3 5/8. But again, it's opposite end. It's considered, even though this is really big, it's considered a penknife. I don't know that I would consider this a penknife, but it's pretty thin. It's pretty light. You know, it's lighter than this big heavy knife here. It's lighter than this knife right here, and it's very thin. So I don't know. I don't think I'd consider that a penknife, but a lot of guys would. So anyhow, that's what a equal end knife is. Oh, let me mention something else about this. You notice this doesn't have a bolster, but if you measured this out right here to here, they're exactly the same size. So it's an equal end. This is an equal end bare head jack. It's just got a bare head, but the ends are equal. Just one doesn't have a bolster, so you don't have to have a bolster down here for it to be an equal end. And that's like that one I showed you right here. They're tip bolsters, but they're both equal and symmetrically round. And really, that's the definition of an equal end knife. Both ends equal and round. Equally round is how Levens describes it. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative. Just another knife pattern, kind of defining them for you. In case you're confused, you can see it's easy to be confused with different things like this. You know, easy to be confused. So if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. No matter what, if you make a comment, like, or share, or subscribe, it'll help the channel out, helps the algorithms. So remember, you'll know the truth will set you free, and really appreciate you guys for supporting and watching the channel.